Imam Bukhari, subhanallah. You know, we had the honor of visiting the grave of Imam Bukhari, rahmatullah alayhi. And I'll tell you why it was amazing honor. You know, all the time we hear Bukhari said this, Bukhari said this, related by Bukhari. When Bukhari says it, you don't even have to go through the authenticity. When we study our final book that we complete is Sahih al-Bukhari. When we complete our course, we have a Khatmul Bukhari. So imagine now, today, I am sitting next to the grave of Imam Bukhari. You actually have to have permission because you have a kind of sign of a grave at the top, but really the grave is downstairs. So they open the door for you, and by the grace of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, they allowed us to sit next to the grave of Imam Bukhari. It's a small room, only about 20 people can fit into it. But what is the history? And inshallah, next couple of weeks I will go over the history. But let me tell you about the history of the grave of Imam Bukhari. Imam Bukhari, rahmatullah alayhi, is buried in a place called Khartang, just outside Samarkand. Just outside Samarkand. So you had the Soviets took over. After the Soviets took over, then you had the communist era. Now the communist era was an era of oppression. Nobody could study their religion. So when they realized that the communists have come, what they did is that a person, he built a warehouse over the grave of Imam Bukhari because they were destroying everything. And then he filled the warehouse with crates. And this is how they saved the grave of Imam Bukhari from the communists. So many years pass, many decades pass, and then Sukarno, who was a president of Indonesia, comes on a state visit to Moscow. Now, the Soviets were trying to get the Indonesians on their side because they're having a cold war with the West. So when he comes, he says, I want to visit the grave of Imam Bukhari. Now, he's in Moscow. These guys have never heard of Imam Bukhari. So they send a message, listen, look for this guy called Bukhari. He's somewhere in Uzbekistan. So where do they go? Obviously they go to Bukhara. And they go and ask the people, and nobody knows where it is. And even if they do know where it is, they won't tell them because they know what the communists are like. So they run around. Eventually they find the grave of Imam Bukhari they go to Samarkand. Someone tells Samarkand. When they're there, nobody's telling them. Eventually they find the grave of Imam Bukhari in a warehouse. So they ring back to Moscow and they say, look, we found the grave, but the grave don't look too good. It's in a very, very bad state. And if he comes and sees it like this, he may not be very happy. So they worked day and night. And they sent a message to Moscow to delay him coming to Uzbekistan. Eventually he came. And he made dua and he cried by the grave of Imam Bukhari. These communists couldn't understand, why does he revere this person like he does? And it was after that they began to look after the grave of Imam Bukhari rahmatullah. Now it's a beautiful garden. I will explain more what Uzbekistan inshallah in the next couple of weeks. It's a beautiful place. So the Imam, he opened the downstairs for us to go. So there's about 20 of us in the room. So Sheikh Yahya Ibrahim from Australia said to me, Sheikh, can you say a few words? Wallah, it was very overwhelming for me. You know, being by the grave of Imam Bukhari, the grave is just there. Being next to that man who wrote the book, which is Asahul Kutub Ba'da Kitabillah, the most authentic book after the book of Allah. You know what that means? That means Allah's book is the kalam of Allah, is the word of Allah. Like Allah has no beginning, His book has no beginning. Like Allah has no end, His kalam has no end. Like Allah cannot change, His word, the kalam Allah, the Quran cannot change. This man, radiyallahu anhu, whose grave was there and we were sitting here, wrote the most authentic book from the lips of Habib sallallahu alayhi wasallam after the kalam of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. radiyallahu anhu, may Allah elevate his status, may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala elevate the status of all our great scholars who sacrificed for the deen of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala.